The Movie Preview Critic. Informing and entertaining your movie world.
What's up, good movie lovers? Welcome to the first installment of a new feature here at the Movie Preview Critic, where at the beginning of each week, the box office numbers of the most recent movie weekend are decoded and hopefully the movie truth is revealed. Opening weekend numbers are what determine the future of H-Wood. From a surprise indie hit to a big budget piece of the box office returns are the traffic signals that the studios obey. If a certain type of movie is making a lot of green, then it's time to get production moving faster on similar types of films. If the cash is decent and coming in at kind of like piss-trickling yellow speeds, then it's time to slow production down just a bit. Finally, if there's nothing coming in and it looks like the production will be stuck in the red, it's pretty much the end of the line for that type of movie for the time being. These numbers create ramifications for the careers of the filmmakers, especially the director, actors, and writers. So let's take a look at the numbers and figure out what this means for the movies and for us, the cash-paying audience that keeps the wheels of the monolithic entertainment machine greased. And just a note, to avoid annoyingly repeating the word million non-stop, I'll just be saying numbers. Assume they're always in the millions unless otherwise mentioned. Also, because the same terminology is going to be used over and over, it's time for some abbreviations. So now that the H-Wood biz talk is established, it's time to
break it down.
This week we're looking at Bangkok Dangerous. Am I the only one that thinks that title sounds like advice a mom from Thailand gives her daughter before she goes off to college? As of Sunday, the official Bangkok OWBO is 7.8. Wow, that's pretty especially when you consider the budget was 40. And since the BO of most movies goes down after the OW, it's safe to assume this movie will barely make half of that back. This brings up box office breakdown's first movie lesson. In general, there's two reasons audiences choose to see a movie: the story and genre, and/or the star. It's really what's advertised on a movie poster. The story and genre center on the what, and the star centers on the who. Ask yourself which of these factors influenced your decision to go to the last movie you saw in the theater. Did you go because the story and genre were interesting, or because you wanted to see a certain star on the big screen? This system is supposed to be sort of a fail-safe device that studios use to ensure a decent return on investment. They try to entice audiences with an interesting story and a clear genre, then add credibility by promoting a big star, as if to say, "Hey audience, it's got Denzel Washington. He's got an Oscar, so you know he doesn't just star in any old shitty movie." In this case, it's Nicolas Cage, and unfortunately, the message the audience is hearing is, "Hey audience, it's Nicolas Cage." And these days, every movie he's starring in should be titled, "Nicolas Cage makes another mortgage payment." Because lately, it seems like he's not reading the scripts and just looking at the checks. And in general, is he guaranteed to bring in star-type dollars? And then, what will this OWBO due to the future of his going rate? Let's look at the BO record of Nick's previous movies. December 13th, 2007, National Treasure 2 rocks the OWBO with 65, and eventually it took in 454 WW. But let's ask ourselves, did we go to see it because of the story or the star? To think of it another way, if Nicolas Cage had been replaced with someone else, would it have made as much? Probably not, because we've bonded with him as the star of these movies. Sort of like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. How about the story and genre here? If it was bad, it would have made less, but not that much, because the title recognition is a huge factor. National Treasure is now a franchise. More importantly, a successful one. So when Part 3 comes out, it'll automatically make a certain amount of guaranteed cash. April 27, 2007, Nicolas stars in Next. Anyone remember that? Probably not, because just like Bangkok Dangerous, its OWBO was 7. On this one, you can't blame the September end of the summer beginning of school blues for those results. Its budget was 70, and it only made 22 WW. So what happened here? It's a case where the shitness of the story overpowered any drawing power Nicolas Cage as a star might have had. February 16, 2007, he starred in Ghost Rider. We all know it became a hit, But why? We have to ask here again, is it the star power of Nicolas Cage or the franchise power of Ghost Rider as an established comic book with a built-in audience? I vote for the second option. Ed Norton, Brad Pitt, or Leonardo DiCaprio could have starred in this and it would have made the same amount of money, which was 220 WW after an OWBO of 52 on a budget of 110. You could argue that Nicolas Cage helped make it a hit, but when you look at the movies he made right before Ghost Rider, this argument starts to lose power. On September 1st, 2006, he starred in Wicker Man. If you've seen it, I'm sorry. It's easily one of the worst movies of the new millennium, but on the other hand, one of the best guilty pleasures. With a budget of 40, it did about 12 for its OWBO and finished with a BOT of 24 in the US. If we look at the rest of his movies since the beginning of this millennium, it becomes clear that if he's not starring in a major franchise-type movie, he's not bringing in big numbers at the box office with his name alone. When his movies make money, it's because the story and genre are pulling in the audience. When he's the center of the marketing and the stories aren't all that great, the numbers aren't impressive. So what do the Bangkok numbers mean when considering all this information of Nicolas Cage's BO past? Apparently nothing, because he's already lined up to star in 14 movies through 2010. That's 6 more than the undisputed king of movie business overworking, Samuel L. Jackson, who has 8 movies he's starring in through 2010. A OBO like Bangkok Dangerous just had isn't bad enough to derail his career right now, because he can always blame it on the directors, the Pang brothers. If anyone's gonna feel the sting from an OWBO of 7, it's the directors. The Pang brothers are a Hong Kong writing-directing team notably responsible for the J-horror The Eye movies. Bangkok Dangerous was their debut feature as a directing team. It was a hit overseas, so H Wood figured it would translate in America. The only problem is the original was made in 1999, so any momentum or zeitgeist that was in the air for assassin movies was lost in the 9 years since then. Oh yeah, and there's one other little detail. In the original, the Nicolas Cage character is deaf. That's actually pretty interesting, and hasn't really been done before. But if there's anything we the audience have learned from H Wood, it's that they take anything interesting and challenging out of the movies and try to make them as cookie-cutter, assembly line conformist as possible. I, for one, would have been more intrigued in seeing Bangkok Dangerous if Nicolas Cage played a deaf assassin, but instead, we got a poor man's version of the recently released Hitman. So the Pang brothers lost the major hook of their original and made a by-the-numbers cliche assassin on the run straight-to-DVD quality disappointment. With both of their biggest hits already Americanized in the form of get-rich-quick remakes, it doesn't look good for their movie future stateside. It's also a reminder to anyone thinking about making a movie with an assassin as a main character. It has to be something original or unique, a spin on what's already been done. Don't do something we've seen before. Make the character stand out and put that character in an interesting story. This means we shouldn't expect to see any assassin-centered films gushing off the Hollywood assembly line anytime soon. As for Nicolas Cage, the only major star of the film, it's a little checkmark in his BO report card, but he's not going to be sent to the principal's office just yet. And that means he's still going to get paid the big dollars for at least his next 2 to 3 films. They're not franchise-type stories, and there isn't an automatic built-in audience, so these next few films will be a true test of Nicolas Cage's star power. If they're hits, he can take a good amount of credit for it, but if they're BO then he has to start taking some of the blame. And that might be the time for him to reassess his career, because once upon a time, Nicolas Cage was an Oscar-winning actor who became a movie star and somewhere along the way lost his direction. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for him, because we the audience have spoken. We don't mind watching him when he's in movies with good stories, but at the same time, we feel sad and too embarrassed to watch him when he's obviously in a movie to make a quick buck. The next project that has a chance to bring the actor inside of Nicolas Cage back to life is Amarillo Slim, a biopic based on the legendary poker player. But that's not until 2009 or 2010. In the meantime, based on this week's breakdown, it looks like Nicolas Cage will be phoning it in a few more times, and the Pang brothers won't be making any movies in America anytime soon. Until next week, remember, the movie future is in our hands. Hollywood gives us more of what we pay for, so choose wisely, and as always,
Long live good movies!